welcome to the international edition of OK Boomer Live TV. I am your host, and my name is Steve Ferreira. My day job, I'm CEO of Ocean Audit here in beautiful Hartford, Connecticut, the insurance capital of the world, and the capital of OK Boomer Live. So pull up a chair, get into the Boomer lifestyle, and get ready for a great dissertation on the latest on CMA and the cyber attacks taking place globally. That was pretty good. I don't think I said once. I guess those Connecticut School of Broadcasting lessons are paying off. And have you noticed we changed the lighting a little bit for you guys? You know, these international versions of OK Boomer Live are pretty hot and have been pretty hot in demand. So I can only imagine the comments. I'm just so pleased to have everyone on tonight. Hold on a sec. I got to kind of find out who's on tonight. Oh my God. Chris Thomas. Singer du jour. Chris, you want to come on and hum a few notes for us tonight? That would be cool. Chris is one of the great LinkedIn live streamers, and he's got a band called Pages and Poets. Chris and I couldn't be further apart in our differences. I love Chris, but again, I'm OK Boomer, 59-ish, 60 next month, by the way, and Chris is a vibrant, I think 34. Great guy, great musician, and does a lot for the community. I love Chris. He's really taught me a lot. Matter of fact, he kind of got me started in guiding me on broadcast control. And I've learned a lot from him. He just said, nice setting. Hey, Christine. Hey, James. It's a pleasure to have you on tonight. You're watching OK Boomer Live, later version, extended hours version with Steve Ferreira. Normally I feel bad when Chris Thomas online here. Usually we play some music. But there you guys, you can see Chris. He's a tremendous human being, even though he's an Eagles fan. So what can I say? But yeah, I just said, but oh my God. I powered up on this homemade marinara sauce that my wife made for me, 15 minutes before the broadcast. The meatballs are piping hot. It's like you got the Pellegrino, and I started thinking it matches my tie, and I thought to myself, I'm just insane. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm putting on a suit and tie to broadcast to my love, my followers. I love you guys. You guys are just awesome, and I can't tell you how much this has meant to me to have a great following. And Chris, it's a privilege to have you on, as well as everyone else. Let's party. Yeah, let's party for sure. I got the disco ball, the Hypnocube in the background, Chris, just for you. We can actually make it do little funny things here. It's dancing just for you, Chris. So today we're going to talk about the cyber attack on CMA, CGM, and I think some of the short-term ramifications. I believe that you all know that CMA, CGM suffered a Hanger ransomware, Ranger ransomware today. Ranger, I think it's called. Excuse me. And they have been asked to pay a ransom, right, to deactivate their encrypted keys to get their domain controllers back and all that good stuff. Hey, Fanny, one of my favorite people in Dallas, Texas. Fanny Dunnigan. I'm sorry, Fanny. I love your shows, Fanny. You bring so much content to LinkedIn. The membership should be pleased to have you. So thanks for joining us. And so I think that these cyber attacks in ocean freight shipping, I lived through the one with Maersk Line 3 years ago. It was called the No Cry or WannaCry It was a derivative of the Petya virus, and it really played havoc on Maersk Line. As a matter of fact, Wired magazine did a feature on it, and it was just republished through one of my friends, John Monroe, a few days ago. And it was just, a devastating cyber hit on the largest at the time, well, still is, Maersk, the largest vessel operator in the world. And just how the cyber criminals can really shut down maritime shipping. And I think what, having lived through that, and having lived through some, really huge client audits that I was in the middle of during the Petra virus attack with Maersk Line, I think I can relate some parallels to what's happening with the current cyber attack on CMA. And I think that there are a couple of critical areas that the press has not covered that you'll only get here on OK Boomer Live. So just to recap, you're watching Steve Ferreira, and I'm CEO of Ocean Audit. I have done several CNBC guest appearances on ocean freight analysis. I've been featured in USA Today, Bloomberg, JOC, FreightWaves, and many other publications with regards to ocean freight and ocean freight transportation. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about in terms of some of the side effects of some of the hangovers that importers and exporters in the USA might be feeling as it relates to the cyber attack today on CMA. And I think that you have to really start front and center by thinking about the cost factors. As most of you guys know that are involved in international ocean transportation, container rates to the West Coast recently hit the $4,000 per container mark, which is really a unique world record in terms of the rates ever being that high to the U.S. West Coast. East Coast rates obviously went through the roof as well. But it's that West Coast benchmark that everyone looks at. And my first big takeaway on what's happened with CMA is I do believe that this is going to affect space and capacity coming out of Asia, and especially China. And I do believe that short term, in the next 7 to 10 days, we will see a 50, my prediction, Ferreira's prediction here, go bold on the line here, a $50 to $75 increase in the U.S. West Coast spot rate, and probably something parallel to that in the U.S. East Coast rates. So I do look for those rates to short-term spike. Now, I think that one of the mistakes that beneficial cargo owners or importers, exporters may make, especially importers coming in from Asia, is, the gut reaction is to, okay, if I can't get space on CMA because, these vessels are just not, they're slowing down, they're partially filled. CMA can slug through, or slog through, whatever you prefer, some of this cyber by doing a manual paper and pencil stow and using some laptop programs. But certainly it's going to impact the overall normal full loadability of these vessels in the next 4 or 5 days, where they're still recovering system-wide and system-wise. So I think that the issue right now is, space has always been a huge issue in the Trans-Pacific trade over the last several months, and it's only going to get worse now. So first prediction is $50 to $75 rate increases. Second prediction, or second encouragement, is Ferreira's advice. Don't go necessarily racing to the direct ocean carrier that owns the ships. I think the right play right now might be to go to a non-vessel operating common carrier. Look, I'm neutral, right? So I love all the vendors out there, and a lot of them are friends, some are customers. So I can only say what I feel, and based on kind of my magic touch on where I think importers are going to get the best overall service right now. So that's my goal, right? My goal is to deliver the best overall quality of service to you guys, even from the perspective that, I'm going to be the guy that's ending up looking at the invoices to help you save money. And right now, the invoicing is just simply out of control, and it's obviously going to get worse. This virus, this cyber attack, is not going to make anything easier for anyone. But let's go, and we're going to talk about the extra cost involved, other than just the ocean freight that we talked about a second ago. So I think the other key issue to take a look at is you might want to go to FedEx, UPS, Flexport. There's a couple of examples, right, that I throw out to you, and looking at my threat board on, where you can get best position right now. I think those three vendors have the right mix that ticks my box. And believe it or not, none of them are clients of mine, right? So, I mean, it's a really neutral recommendation. I have relationships with all these guys, but I think that this is, truly a spirit of, neutrality, where I think that you might behoove yourself to go look at, UPS, Flexport, and FedEx, right? And now I think CEVA, right? CEVA is a division of CMA. So CEVA is a great company and a wild card there. But I think if importers turn to CEVA, right, CEVA still can get cargo onto other vessels, because that's what an NVO does, right? They capture business and they spread out the volume to other ocean freight transportation carriers that own the vessels, right? It's just for our friends out there that don't understand ocean freight. There's what we call wholesalers and retailers, right? So think of CMA as a retailer, and think of Flexport or UPS as a wholesaler, where they buy the space in bulk and then resell it. So I think that's a good play. And the reason why I don't necessarily lump CEVA into the immediate play is that they do book a lot of their own cargo on CMA, which is the parent company. It makes sense, right? I mean, they're going to give, they're going to have the best opportunity with the parent company. However, by booking with CMA, you basically, I'm not saying you're supporting a vendor in need, because not at all. CMA's systems are fine. CMA is up and running. They have, the 10 by 10, 5 by 5, they're good to go. But I'm suggesting that by supporting CMA now, you are also kind of, I think, getting in front of the line for other issues that you might have, because let's face it, right? Somebody hears the word Corona, right? And all of a sudden I'm seeing more and more beer commercials for Corona, featuring, what's the guy's name? The CBS announcer, Tony Romo. And, but Corona beer is, making a comeback, right? Because of the name. But, if you hear CMA now, it's like, okay, well, hey, they have cyber attack. But does that affect, some of their other brands? I think it has affected one of their brands, APL, but CEVA is not affected. So I think I like the CEVA play as a play to show solitude with being part of them in terms of being on the forefront of supporting, right? And it's a great way to show the solidarity. Oh, God. I knew that word is going to mess me up. And I think that is a really good play as well for CEVA. But I think the other, all those options are really cool. I think the other thing to think about, step number 2, is that importers are not considering exporters as well, is power. When I say power, I mean local trucking to maneuver containers through ports of Long Beach, New York, container yards around the country. Because more time will be spent in longer lines because of cyber attack, less power is available to serve the general public. And when I say less power, that means typically higher rates, because instead of bringing the container back on a Tuesday, where there's no charges due, you might have to bring it back on a Friday, and all of a sudden you're in a $300 or $400 bill because you couldn't get the trucking power to get the container back in the terminal. So I think that you have to look at trucking fees and power, the power, meaning the trucks. And then you have to look at waiting fees associated with that. And the point I'm trying to make here is that it's probably realistic to say that the average shipper will experience maybe a $2,000 to $4,000 or $2,000 to $5,000 increase in their logistics costs based on these affiliated and not affiliated type issues, because it's going to be a crossover, a carryover effect on power. Power is a general issue, generic issue that is going to be impacted when the market is constrained by an event like this. So I think that you have to be prepared for extra costs on the ocean, extra costs on the power. And I think you have to also look at like waiting fees. And I really think it's important to look at, I'm not going to say, customs house brokers or freight forwarders would charge rogue invoicing, to take advantage of the situation. But what I am suggesting is that when you're invoicing quick and dirty and fast because of a lot of prevailing events, you really need to study the invoice and the quality of the invoice as you before you pay it, right? So that's where your audit and control and pay comes into question. And for those of you that are just joining, I'm Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit, host of OK Boomer Live. We're talking about the CMA cyber attacks and what it might mean for you as an importer or the community at large importing and exporting on extra costs. And so far, we've talked about my prediction of ocean rates going up short term, $50 to $75. We talked about less power in trucking being available on the street, causing an increase in detention and demurrage. These are accessorial fees that are involved in sea freight shipping. And we talked about waiting fees, and we talked about kind of these nebulous type charges that will start occurring on clients' invoices. And it's my belief that even though you're not directly affected by the cyber attack, and you may not even be a CMA customer, you may experience an extra $4,000 or $5,000 in sea freight or logistics budget overruns in the short term, and that could be a 3-day period or it could be a week period. But chances are they're going to get, and I checked just before showtime tonight, they're still not up. CMA is not up. So this is going to take a little while, kids. I had to say that. And, the systems come on slowly, right? I mean, the story with Maersk is that everything almost went out the window with Maersk, except that they had a office in Kenya where their domain controller had a power failure. So the domain controller in Kenya did not get affected by the no-cry or the Petra virus. So the domain controller was shut off because of power failure before the virus impacted it. So they had to fly somebody to, I think it was Ghana or Kenya. I can't remember. Kenya, I think it was. No, Ghana. I think it was Ghana. And they had to bring that hard drive back to London. And it was just thanks to the power of God that the power failure took place, that Maersk was able to get their systems back up. I have no idea if this is anything similar, but I have seen the ransom request or the initial ransom request. So we know for sure this is definitely ransomware type situation. The other thing I kind of really want to talk about, I actually think it's a more important topic than all these extra costs, is the fact that when Maersk came back up from their attack, they did not load all their data. And they decided that it would be better to load more current data than historic data that a client might need to get their hands on. So for example, in the US, there's a federal law that says shippers can go back 3 years and claim a refund. And Maersk had, at the time when we did this, when this virus happened, I didn't do it, but I mean, when the virus hit, I remember that they didn't load back all the data. So, it was in archives, and it almost took an act of God, to get them to, load historic data that, a client would need for, let's say, audit or, some kind of legal issue. So I think it's really important that if you are a CMA client, and this is where I appeal to all CMA customers right now, I think it's really important to, what I would do in the next 24 hours, when you get back to the office today, tomorrow, if you're in North America, or if you're in Asia or Europe, today, I would definitely find all the historic data. I'd go back as far as I can and just make sure that you're able to do a quick inventory, that you have all the CMA invoices, the payables, and you have everything where it should be, right? Because there's a good chance you may need that to prove an issue, as opposed to you going to the vendor and saying, hey, CMA, can you pull this up and say, we have a question now that we're looking at it, whether it was, $8,001 or $1,008. I'm not suggesting that they won't be able to answer that question, but what I'm suggesting is that it's far better for you to operate from a power of strength, that you have the data in a safe space, and it's accessible, so that your accounting or finance or supply chain folks or your auditors or attorneys can get to the data if they ever need or to audit it, or have any kind of claim, or there's some vessel cargo claim that's been outstanding. I don't want to say it was a convenient way, for the data to go away, but on one hand, I understand where, when Maersk came back, they wanted to have a clean system. They had to reinstall everything, and they really buttoned down the security. So we'll see what happens on CMA, how much they have available. But I think it's really important to button down the hatches and know where your CMA data is. It's worth a look, especially data from 2017 and 18. I would definitely be most concerned about preserving that. The other thing too that I made a note of on my teleprompter, out of your view, thankfully, is to avoid paying rogue invoices, straight away. For the life of me, and I've been doing this for some 30 years, I've never understood why clients pull the trigger quite quickly on a payable event, especially with ocean freight being such a slippery slope. And so I think now that we're into environments with China, trade tariffs, 301s, where everyone's thinking about getting refunds of jillions of dollars, folks, I have to tell you, it probably won't happen. But avoid paying these rogue invoices that are coming in from all different aspects of your supply chain. Avoid paying them right away. Give them some time to marinate a little bit. Give them some time to, as Michael Jackson says, Chris, simmer, right? And this is it. He says, you got to let it simmer. And I love that line. But I think we have to let these invoices simmer, because, right now my clients are getting hit with barrages of charges that are just, so bogus and so rogue. It makes me so angry. But at the same time, it keeps me extremely engaged, because my role at Ocean Audit is to get refunds for clients, and I get paid on the refunds. So, I've been doing this 30 years. I never charged a client a dime. All my money is made on getting a refund. So you can well imagine how much refund money's out there. And when we have dramatic events like a cyber attack, it is a seminal moment, because it does tend to, create havoc in the marketplace. And we really want our NVOCC and freight forwarder, custom house broker, direct shipper, importer, exporter, and even students of logistics to understand this moment, because they could be next. It could be carrier XYZ that gets hit next. And we have to see how quickly CMA responds to this. Again, the jury is still out in terms of how fast they will, pull this all together. But I will say from experience that it takes a long time to bring up a multinational company based in France and having, offices in 160 or 170 countries. So I think it's a very global scope, and kind of avoid the rumors, right? People will write on LinkedIn, oh, they're up and running, and it's just a wireframe being tested. It doesn't mean the site has flexibility or operational, acuteness. It's not live or anything. So, you really have to kind of keep looking for that. And I do want to go back to what I said about my short-term idea. I think that you should definitely, importers should definitely start, looking at some NVOCC options. It's going to be expensive, there's no question. I think that if you look at, as I said, FedEx, UPS, Flexport, Siva, Schenker, there's some really great ones out there. But I think there's some quiet companies in those mixes that I mentioned that I think a lot of importers might not think about, right? So I think, you could certainly reach out, and if you need any further advice, you can give me a call. My direct line is 860-200-8868. But I'm always glad to help, and especially help you slug through the rogue billing that just really permeates our industry. So we want to keep the vendors honest, but we also want to keep your product moving. And I think in a cyber attack like this, we have to all understand and acknowledge that you could say, geez, they didn't have a good info security policy. We really don't know. I mean, CMA is a premium company. If I was shipping my household goods, I would put it on I would feel very comfortable putting them on a CMA vessel or Maersk. There's not few carriers I would even be scared to put my household goods on. Well, actually, I can think of a few, but no, I think that we have to really. I want shippers out there, importers, to rebound quickly from this. But please don't think just because you're not a direct CMA customer that you're not affected. I do think it's going to really have a short-term spike, and I do worry about the trucking and the waiting charges that could possibly accrue as a result of this. I'm just going to hang over here to the comment section just to see if anyone has. There's a few here that had popped up. Hey, Florian, I appreciate your kind words. That was the last one I see here. Florian, nice guy, Florian Dusla. You guys should connect with him on LinkedIn. I'm so glad Fanny came. Fanny, you're a fantastic contributor, and you're so camera ready and focused on your performances. It's great to watch you, and I learn a lot from your style. And Chris Thomas is another person, Fanny, you should say hi to. He's a great guy, and LinkedIn Live expert as well. So, and then the other thing I just wanted to say really quick is I was kind of getting confused a little bit on stories, the whole new feature on LinkedIn stories. And then, of course, we've got our LinkedIn Live broadcast privileges. I kind of like stories, but it was weird. The other day I made one, and somebody directly looked at my message, right, my story, and then they made a story that said, "Hey, if you're old, you shouldn't be on stories because chances are you don't know how to do it well." And they said, "Just saying," and I can't believe it. I was so irritated by the comment that putting out great quality stuff, have huge followers, and some joker just doesn't like the quality or what you're putting out, or maybe feels intimidated, I guess, from not living the boomer lifestyle. So I thought I would rant and rave about that. But generally speaking, I think you guys will all agree that receptivity is always excellent. And I keep putting out the content, and I feel my clients and friends deserve. And today's no different. I do hope our friends at CMA recover quickly from the cyber attack. Hope they find the culprit. Yeah, right. That's going to be a tough one. And I hope that CMA doesn't have to pay the ransomware, the ransom amounts, and somehow they can restore the system. But if you have any question about the contents of this LinkedIn live stream, how costs might increase, what you can do to defer them, you need any contacts or recommendations on who to call, I stand ready to help you and assist you as always. And you've just been a fantastic audience. And thanks for letting me talk a little bit about my thoughts on how you can all avoid and take advantage of the current marketplace and turn it a negative into a positive. And I hope it will help. So I'll sign off now. It's 11:30 here in Hartford. I think we've been on a good half hour. I want to thank everyone for watching, and it's been an honor to talk to you guys and present. I love you all, and stay in touch. Cheers.